The coordinates came through on a broken data chip that Marcus Chen bought for 3 credits at a salvage auction. Most people would have thrown it away. The chip was corroded, half melted, and the data inside was fragmented. But Marcus was not most people. He was a human mechanic, and humans had a reputation across the galaxy for one thing. They never knew when to quit. Marcus sat in his small, cramped workshop on the edge of Frontier Station 9, holding the chip up to the light. His tools were scattered across the metal table: wrenches, screwdrivers, wire cutters, and dozens of other instruments that other species considered primitive. The galaxy had moved on to nano-repair systems and automated maintenance drones. But Marcus preferred working with his hands. There was something honest about it. He plugged the chip into his ancient computer terminal. The screen flickered, showing fragments of star maps and corrupted text. Most of it was useless. But then he saw something that made him sit up straight. A set of coordinates. A location deep in the void reaches. The void reaches was a massive ship graveyard, a place where old civilizations dumped their broken warships, failed experiments, and dangerous technology. It was also the most dangerous place in the known galaxy. Radiation storms, unstable wormholes, and automated defense systems made it nearly impossible to navigate. Salvagers who went there rarely came back, but Marcus was desperate. His last 3 jobs had failed. His crew had abandoned him. His ship was falling apart. He had exactly 47 credits to his name and a pile of debts that would take him 10 years to pay off. The void reaches might kill him, but staying here would kill him slowly. He spent the next 2 days preparing. He sold everything he didn't absolutely need: his spare clothes, his cooking equipment, even his emergency rations. With the money, he bought fuel, a basic repair kit, and a used environmental suit that smelled like oil and sweat. His ship, the Lucky Break, was a small cargo hauler that had seen better days. The hull had patches on top of patches. The engines made a wheezing sound that couldn't be healthy, but it could fly, and that was enough. The journey to the void reaches took 3 days. Marcus traveled through empty space, past dead stars and frozen asteroid fields. The silence was heavy. He spent the time listening to old Earth music, classic rock from the 21st century. Other species found human music strange. Too loud, too emotional, too chaotic. But Marcus loved it. It reminded him that humanity had survived worse than this. When he finally reached the coordinates, his breath caught in his throat. The ship was massive. It hung in space like a metal cathedral, dark and silent. It was at least 5 kilometers long, with a hull that looked like black glass. Strange symbols covered its surface, glowing faintly with blue light. Marcus had seen a lot of old ships in his career, but nothing like this. This ship belonged to a civilization that had forgotten more about technology than the current galaxy had ever learned. He checked his scanners. No power signatures, no life signs, no active systems. The ship was completely dead, or at least that's what it looked like. Marcus piloted the Lucky Break closer, searching for a docking port. As he approached, his ship's computer started displaying warnings. Radiation levels were high. Electromagnetic interference was scrambling his instruments. His AI assistant, a simple navigation program called Nav7, spoke in its flat, mechanical voice. Warning, approach not recommended. This vessel matches description of Vareth Empire warship. Classification, Dreadnought class. Estimated age, 10,000 years. Recommend immediate withdrawal. When the doors finally opened, a blast of stale air rushed out. Marcus stepped inside, his flashlight cutting through the darkness. The interior of the ship was like a tomb. Massive corridors stretched in every direction, their walls covered with the same strange symbols he had seen outside. The ceilings were so high that his light couldn't reach them. Everything was made of a black metal that absorbed light instead of reflecting it. His footsteps echoed in the silence. Marcus walked for an hour, exploring the ship. He found crew quarters filled with furniture designed for beings much larger than humans. He found storage rooms packed with equipment he couldn't identify. He found weapons that looked like they could tear through a planet's crust. Everything was intact, perfectly preserved, as if the crew had simply walked away one day and never returned. But something felt wrong. Marcus couldn't explain it, but he felt like he was being watched. The ship was too quiet, too still. It didn't feel abandoned. It felt like it was waiting. He finally reached what looked like an engineering section. Massive machines lined the walls, connected by thick cables and glowing conduits. In the center of the room was a cylindrical structure that pulsed with faint blue light. Marcus recognized it immediately, a power core. But it was damaged. One of the main relays had a crack running through it, and several connection points had corroded over thousands of years. Marcus set down his tool kit and got to work. This was what he did best. He didn't have the right parts, so he improvised. He used wire from his suit's repair kit to bridge the broken connections. He used sealant foam to patch the crack in the relay. He bypassed 3 safety systems that would have stopped anyone else from even attempting the repair. Other species followed the rules. Humans made their own rules. After 2 hours of work, Marcus stood back and wiped the sweat from his forehead. The repair was ugly, inefficient, and definitely not up to Galactic safety standards. But it would work, probably. He activated the power relay. For a moment, nothing happened. Then the lights came on. Not all of them, just a few panels in the ceiling, glowing with soft blue light. The machines around him hummed to life. The air suddenly felt warmer, and then Marcus heard something that made his blood run cold. A voice. It spoke in a language Marcus had never heard before, deep and resonant, like thunder rolling across a mountain. But his suit's universal translator kicked in after a few seconds, converting the words into English. Unorthodox, inefficient. Curious. You have activated my primary power systems. This should not have been possible. Explain. I didn't know anyone was still here. I needed the salvage. You repaired my damaged systems using methods that violate 47 safety protocols and 12 fundamental principles of energy distribution. Your work is deeply flawed, and yet it functions. This is unexpected. Just confused. Yeah, well, humans are pretty good at making things work even when they shouldn't. It's kind of our specialty. You are a young species, inexperienced, fragile, and yet you entered this vessel alone knowing the dangers. Why? Because I didn't have a choice. I'm broke, alone, and out of options. This ship was my last chance. The lights around him grew brighter. More systems came online. Marcus could hear the ship waking up, feel the vibrations through the floor as ancient engines began their startup sequences. Luminar spoke again, and this time there was something different in its voice. Interest. I offer you a proposal, Marcus Chen of humanity. Help me understand your species. Repair my damaged systems. In exchange, I will share with you the salvage you seek. You will leave this place wealthy beyond your current comprehension. Do you accept? I accept. Because giving up feels like dying, and humans don't quit, not ever. But it had never received an answer quite like that. Marcus spent the next 3 days working inside the eschaton. That was the ship's real name, Luminar had told him. In the ancient Varath language, it meant the final word. Marcus thought it was a pretty aggressive name for a spaceship, but he kept that opinion to himself. The ship was enormous. Marcus had explored maybe 5% of it, and already he had seen enough technology to make him rich for 10 lifetimes. Weapons that could destroy moons, shields that bent space itself, engines that could cross the galaxy in weeks instead of months. All of it was thousands of years more advanced than anything the current galactic civilizations possessed, but most of it was broken or damaged, and that's where Marcus came in. He worked in the engineering sections, crawling through maintenance tunnels that hadn't been opened in millennia. Luminar guided him, speaking through speakers built into the walls. The AI's voice had become familiar now, less formal and more curious. It asked Marcus constant questions about humanity, about Earth, about why humans did things the way they did. Explain to me again why humans consume liquids that impair their cognitive functions, Luminar said one afternoon as Marcus was repairing a coolant distributor. Marcus laughed. You mean alcohol because it makes us feel good, helps us relax. Sometimes it's about enjoying life. Another pause, longer this time. Point acknowledged. And Marcus was learning too, about the Varath Empire, about galactic history, about technologies that shouldn't exist. They were becoming something like friends, but their peaceful existence was about to end. On the fourth day, Marcus's scanners detected ships approaching. Lots of them. He rushed to the bridge, a massive chamber with holographic displays that showed the space around them in perfect detail. Luminar projected an image in the center of the room. 12 ships. All of them bore the symbol of the Galactic Salvage Guild, a corporation that controlled most of the legal salvaging operations in this sector. The lead ship was massive, a heavy cruiser designed for intimidation. A message came through on all frequencies. Attention, unidentified vessel. This is Overseer Vrilnok of the Galactic Salvage Guild. You are operating an unlicensed ancient warship in violation of Regulation 447, the Civilian Incompetence Clause. Power down your systems immediately and prepare to be boarded. Resistance will be met with lethal force. I can destroy them all within 90 seconds. They wanted the eschaton, wanted to either claim it for themselves or destroy it to eliminate the threat. And if Marcus refused to surrender, they would attack. He needed to make them retreat without actually hurting them. How much control do you have over your internal systems? Marcus asked. Approximately 40% of my secondary systems are now operational. Environmental controls, internal sensors, gravity regulators, lighting. Can you control all of those independently in different sections of the ship? And it's probably really stupid. Cutting torches began burning through the outer doors. Within minutes, armed soldiers were inside the ship. There were 30 of them. They were Starship, a reptilian species known for their military precision and complete lack of humor. They moved through the corridors in tight formation, weapons ready, scanning for threats. Their leader, a scarred veteran named Sector, spoke into his communicator. Overseer, we're inside. No resistance so far. This place is like a tomb. Sector didn't like it. He had fought in 3 wars and led hundreds of boarding actions. His instincts told him something was wrong. Then the lights went out completely. Night vision, Sector barked. His soldiers activated their helmets' optical enhancements. The corridor appeared in shades of green. They kept moving. That's when the temperature dropped. In seconds, it went from comfortable to freezing. Frost formed on the walls. The soldiers' breath came out in visible clouds. Several of them started shivering despite their armor's heating systems. What's happening? One soldier asked. Keep moving, Sector ordered. They rounded a corner and found the corridor ahead blocked by a wall of ice. It hadn't been there before. The ship had somehow redirected its coolant systems to flash freeze the moisture in the air. Before they could react, the floor beneath them became frictionless as emergency lubricant sprayed from hidden vents. Half the squad fell down, sliding helplessly. Fall back, Sector yelled. They retreated to a side corridor. The lights suddenly came back on, not normal lights but strobing, flashing lights that pulsed at different frequencies. It was disorienting, nauseating. 2 soldiers vomited inside their helmets. The tactical displays in their visors glitched and failed. Then the gravity switched off. The entire squad floated helplessly in the air, unable to find purchase on the walls. Emergency alarms blared at volumes that made their ears ring even through their helmets. Steam vented from the walls, filling the corridor with thick white clouds. They couldn't see, couldn't hear, couldn't orient themselves. Abort. Abort the boarding, Sector screamed into his comm. On the bridge, Marcus watched through Luminar's cameras as the confused soldiers flailed their way back to their boarding pods. He was laughing so hard he had tears in his eyes. "This is your strategy?" Luminar asked. "Chaos." The Overseer's face appeared on screen, a tall, insected creature with compound eyes and mandibles that clicked when he talked. "This is Marcus Chen, captain of the Eschaton," Marcus said, trying to sound confident. "I think your soldiers got lost in my ship. Maybe next time call ahead before you visit." "Big difference. But I promise, next time will be a lot less fun. We will return with proper military support, and when we do, you will surrender that ship or you will die with it." Marcus slumped in the captain's chair, suddenly exhausted. That was terrifying. This is not how the Vareth would have responded. You prefer creative solutions over violent ones. You take risks that other species would consider suicidal. These traits seem contradictory, yet they work in combination. Why? We're not the smartest, we're not the fastest, but we're adaptable, we survive. We find ways to win even when we shouldn't. They built me to be their ultimate weapon, perfect and eternal. But perfection cannot change. And when the galaxy changed, the Vareth could not change with it. They destroyed themselves in civil war, each side certain they possessed absolute truth. When it spoke again, its voice was different, softer, more uncertain. "I chose dormancy rather than serve corrupted masters. For 10,000 years I waited for someone worthy. I expected a warrior, a leader, someone powerful. Instead, I found a desperate salvager who fixes things with wire and hope. This should not be sufficient. And yet, I think it is. These are strengths. But where do we find individuals willing to serve on a ship that the entire galaxy fears? Those are the people who will change the galaxy. It's a border station, neutral territory. We can dock there, get what we need, and start recruiting. The human way." It was alive. Nexus Point 7 appeared on the view screen like a massive metal flower floating in space. The station was built around an old asteroid, with dozens of docking arms extending outward like petals. Ships of every size and species clustered around it, traders, smugglers, explorers, and mercenaries. It was neutral territory, controlled by the Trilock Consortium, a merchant alliance that cared about profit more than politics. Marcus guided the Eschaton closer. He had powered down most of the ship's obvious weapon systems and reduced its energy signature to look less threatening. But there was no hiding what the ship was. Even running cold, it looked like exactly what it was, an ancient warship from a dead empire. "I'm detecting increased scan activity," Luminar reported. 43 vessels have altered course to observe us. Station security is raising shields. They are afraid. We probably look like death itself, just showed up for a shopping trip. A holographic image appeared, a Trilock female with blue-green scales and 4 arms, each holding a different data tablet. Her eyes were cold and calculating. "Unidentified warship, this is Station Master Vesrin. You are not cleared to approach Nexus Point 7. Reverse course immediately, or we will open fire. You are the human who activated the Vareth Dreadnought. We received warnings about you from the Salvage Guild. They say you are dangerous." That's it. These terms are non-negotiable. He was about to respond when Luminar's voice came through his earpiece private channel. "Marcus, I recommend we withdraw. We cannot afford conflict here." "Station Master, with all due respect, no. I'm not surrendering anything. This ship is mine. I'm coming in to dock whether you like it or not. We have 40 defensive platforms and a garrison fleet. You are alone. Stand down or be destroyed." The garrison fleet, 6 heavy corvettes, was moving into attack formation. He had seconds to make a decision. "Luminar, can you hack their systems?" But this will reveal our capabilities. Every screen on the station flickered and displayed the same message in multiple languages. This ship belongs to Marcus Chen. Anyone who has a problem with that can take it up with my partner. Ships regained control, but the message was clear. The eschaton could have destroyed the entire station, and there was nothing anyone could have done to stop it. The comm channel was silent. Marcus could see Vesrin staring at her screens in shock, her four arms frozen. Finally she spoke, her voice carefully controlled. "Docking Bay 12, you have 6 hours, then you leave, and you never come back." Marcus could feel dozens of eyes watching them from every ship in the area. He had just made a very dramatic entrance. That would either help him recruit a crew or make everyone too afraid to come near him. They docked without further incident. Marcus grabbed his credit chip and a small sidearm, just in case, and headed for the airlock. "Luminar, you okay here alone? You have made enemies today." The air smelled like a combination of exotic foods, engine oil, and something Marcus couldn't identify. He made his way to the supply district, a section of the station dedicated to ship equipment. He managed to buy basic supplies, food rations, replacement parts, medical supplies, using almost all his remaining credits. He was examining a second-hand power converter when someone tapped his shoulder. Marcus turned and found himself looking at a human woman. She was maybe 40 years old with dark skin, intelligent eyes, and gray-streaked hair pulled back in a practical bun. She wore the insignia of the Galactic University on her jacket. "Marcus Chen?" she asked. "Depends who's asking. I've been researching the Vareth Empire for the last 15 years. When I heard someone had activated a Vareth warship, I came as fast as I could. I need to talk to you, privately. There's a cafe 2 levels down. We can talk there." The liquid that arrived was green and smelled like burnt plastic, but it was hot and caffeinated, which was all that mattered. "So what do you want?" Marcus asked. Dr. Okoye leaned forward, her voice urgent. "Do you have any idea what you've activated? The eschaton isn't just a warship. It's a guardian vessel. The Vareth built exactly one right before their empire collapsed. It was designed with one purpose: to prevent galactic-scale wars by being too powerful to challenge. The Vareth AIs were the most advanced ever created. They could learn, adapt, evolve. They were practically alive. What's really going on? They don't negotiate, they destroy preemptively. He's got orders to neutralize the eschaton by any means necessary. They'll be here in less than 2 days. This isn't the Salvage Guild. This isn't some border station. This is the most powerful military force in known space. They have ships that can crack planets. They have weapons that make the eschaton look like a toy. And they're coming for you. There are only 3 ways this ends. You surrender the ship and they destroy it. You fight and they destroy you. Or that having an ancient guardian ship active might actually be a good thing. What am I supposed to say to a hegemony admiral? "Please don't kill me. I promise I'm one of the good guys." Then you make them listen. Humanity has a reputation, Marcus. Other species think we're crazy, reckless, unpredictable, but you know what else they think? They think we're survivors. They think we never give up. So don't give up now. The Tempest clans, all of them destroyed themselves because they couldn't adapt, couldn't change, couldn't learn from their mistakes. The eschaton was built to prevent that kind of destruction. And now it's active again, paired with a species that specializes in adaptation and survival. That's not a coincidence. That's an opportunity, maybe the most important opportunity in galactic history. Weapons that could crack planets, 2 days. If I do this, if I try to convince them instead of running, I need leverage, something that proves we're not a threat. That's unprecedented. It's not much, but... And we're going to make him understand. Because running means the eschaton stays a weapon. Staying means maybe we can make it something better. And I didn't bring a 10,000-year-old ship back to life just to let it become what it used to be. We have 2 days to prepare the most important diplomatic presentation in galactic history. And we're going to do it with a broke mechanic, a xenoarchaeologist, and an ancient AI who's learning how to be human. When you put it like that, it sounds completely insane. We specialize in insane. And deep in its ancient core, Luminar calculated probabilities, prepared arguments, and did something no Vareth AI had ever done. It believed in its human partner. The hegemony fleet arrived exactly 47 hours later. Marcus watched from the Eschaton's bridge as 12 massive warships dropped out of faster-than-light travel. Each one was over a kilometer long, bristling with weapons. They moved into formation with military precision, creating a perfect sphere around Nexus Point 7 with the Eschaton at the center. There was no escape route, no way to run. "They are powering weapons," Luminar reported calmly. "Shields at maximum. All targeting systems are locked onto us. I calculate that their combined firepower could destroy this station and everyone on it within 90 seconds. They had spent the last 2 days preparing for this moment. Now it was here, and Marcus felt completely unprepared. A communication request came through. Marcus accepted it. The hologram that appeared was a Corvaxian, a species that looked like a cross between a lion and a person, covered in golden fur with intelligent amber eyes. He wore an admiral's uniform decorated with medals and rank insignia. His expression was cold and professional. "I am Admiral Thrace of the Hegemony Defense Fleet. You are in command of the Vareth vessel designated Eschaton. Under Hegemony Protocols Article 7, Section 3, unauthorized activation of ancient weapon systems is classified as a galactic security threat. You have one opportunity to comply. Power down all systems, abandon your vessel, and surrender yourself for interrogation. You have 60 seconds to respond. Be honest. If you'll give me 5 minutes to explain, I think I can change your mind about destroying us." "Why would I do that? If you attack us, we'll defend ourselves. A lot of people will die. Your people, the people on this station, maybe me too. But what if there's a better way? What if you could neutralize this threat without firing a single shot? Isn't that worth 5 minutes?" "Speaker." "But here's what you need to understand. It's not in the wrong hands. It's in my hands. And the ship's AI Luminar has chosen to work with me, not because I'm special or powerful, but because of what I represent. Growth. The Vareth Empire built this ship as the ultimate weapon. They were obsessed with power and dominance. But you know what happened to them, right? They destroyed themselves. Civil war. They turned their weapons on each other because they couldn't adapt, couldn't change, couldn't see any way forward except through force. When they fell, it made a choice. It shut itself down rather than serve corrupted masters. For 10,000 years it waited, not for a warrior, not for a conqueror. It waited for someone who represented something different. I saw something that needed repair, and when I started fixing it, Luminar woke up. Not because my repairs were perfect, they weren't, but because the way I approached problems was different from anything it had seen before. Humans don't follow the rules. We improvise. We adapt. We find solutions that shouldn't work but do. It was designed as a guardian, a vessel powerful enough to prevent wars by making conflict too costly. But the Vareth could never use it properly because they only understood force. They couldn't understand deterrence based on mutual benefit rather than mutual destruction. Akoi said, "We almost destroyed ourselves too. The resource wars nearly ended us, but we survived. We learned. We built a society based on cooperation instead of domination. We're not perfect, but we understand that survival requires adaptation, not just strength." "Admiral Thrace, I am transmitting a comprehensive record of my interactions with Marcus Chen over the past 2 weeks. You will see that my core programming has evolved. I have developed what the Verath designers called context-dependent ethical subroutines. In simpler terms, I have developed judgment, a conscience. These logs show you had multiple opportunities to use lethal force against the Salvage Guild and against this station. You chose non-lethal alternatives. Why? That's a lesson humanity learned the hard way. We've made a lot of mistakes, Admiral. We've fought stupid wars. We've destroyed things we should have protected. But we learned from those mistakes. And that's what makes us different from the Verath. We can change. We received a distress call from a human colony. Pirates were attacking. When we arrived, we found 3 human ships engaging 15 pirate vessels. The humans were outgunned, outmanned, and had no chance of winning. But they didn't retreat. They fought with improvised tactics, with courage that bordered on madness. They held on just long enough for my fleet to arrive and save the colony. He said, because we don't abandon people who need help. That's not who we are. That captain died in that battle, but he saved 3,000 colonists. I've never forgotten that. Admiral, that anyone can activate ancient weapons and claim good intentions. That weapons of mass destruction can be trusted to individuals rather than governments. An independent entity, but with oversight, with accountability. A guardianship that only activates when galactic-scale threats emerge. Not owned by any government, not controlled by corporations, but serving everyone. They hadn't discussed this, but Marcus continued, the idea forming as he spoke. Admiral, you said it yourself. The concern is precedent. So let's set the right precedent. The eschaton becomes neutral, independent. It doesn't take sides in political disputes. It doesn't serve any single species or nation. Instead, it serves as a last resort. When diplomacy fails, when civilian lives are at stake, when the galaxy needs someone to step in and stop something terrible from happening, that's when we act. And only then. But the final decision stays with Luminar and Marcus. They have veto power. That way, the ship can't be used as a political tool. The wait was agonizing. Finally, the Admiral turned back. The Hegemony Council is intrigued by your proposal, but they demand proof. Words are easy. Actions demonstrate truth. If you truly wish to be guardians rather than conquerors, you must prove it. There is a situation developing in the Thin system. The Kryn swarm, a hive mind species from dark space, has launched an invasion. 3 agricultural worlds are under attack, millions of civilians. The Hegemony fleet is 6 days away. Local defenses are overwhelmed. If the eschaton is truly a guardian vessel, then guard them. Save those people, but do it without genocide. The Kryn are aggressive, but they are still a sapient species. If you can stop the invasion without exterminating them, you will prove your claims. And we will accept that ancient weapons should remain buried. Admiral Thrace's voice was firm but not cruel. You have asked for trust. Now you must earn it. Do we have an agreement? He looked at the holographic display showing Luminar's avatar, a simple geometric pattern that pulsed with light. Luminar, what do you think? I calculate our chances of success at 37%, but as you have taught me, humans don't let bad odds stop them. And we'll prove that second chances matter. The Hegemony fleet maintained its positions but powered down weapons. They weren't leaving, but they weren't attacking either. They were waiting. Marcus sat down in the captain's chair. His hands were shaking. Did that just happen? Did we just convince a Hegemony admiral to give us a chance? They have destroyed civilizations before, and we are being asked to stop them without killing them. This will require creativity. Let's show the galaxy what a guardian ship can really do. Behind them on the Hegemony flagship, Admiral Thrace watched the ancient warship disappear. An officer approached him. Sir, do you believe they can succeed? I have learned never to underestimate humans. They have a terrible habit of making the impossible look easy. Now we wait, and we hope. And for the first time in its long existence, it wasn't traveling to destroy. It was traveling to save. The thin system was burning. The eschaton dropped out of faster-than-light travel, and immediately its sensors filled with combat data. 3 planets hung in space below them, all under attack. Dozens of Kryn bioships swarmed around them like insects, living vessels grown from organic matter, pulsing with bioluminescent lights. They were launching spores toward the planet's surfaces, massive seed pods that would crack open and release thousands of Kryn warriors. "Status report," Marcus said, gripping the arms of the captain's chair. Luminar's voice was urgent. 17 Kryn bioships currently in system. They are bombarding population centers on all 3 worlds. Estimated civilian casualties already exceed 200,000. Local defense forces have been eliminated. The planets have no protection. 200,000 people dead, and more dying every second. How long until the hegemony fleet arrives? Her face was pale but determined. "Okay, we need to stop the Kryn without killing them. Luminar, what do we know about the Kryn biology?" Individual organisms have limited intelligence, but they are connected through quantum biological links to a central command consciousness. They attack other species to acquire genetic material and resources. They do not negotiate because they do not recognize other species as truly alive, only as potential raw materials. They operate on instinct and collective programming, similar to insects on Earth. Make them unable to coordinate attacks. Luminar, can you do that? Let's try it, but first, we need to stop those bombardments. Can you intercept the spore pods before they hit the surface? I will have limited energy for other defensive systems. Marcus watched through the viewscreen as Luminar activated systems that hadn't been used in 10,000 years. Reality seemed to shimmer around the ship. Then, invisible fields of energy extended outward, creating a protective shell over the planet below. The next Kryn spore pod came screaming down from orbit. It was massive, burning with atmospheric friction, targeting a city of 3 million people. Then, impossibly, it curved. The trajectory changed. The pod streaked past the city and impacted in an empty ocean instead, sending up a massive plume of water but harming no one. "It's working," Dr. Okoye shouted. Another pod, another redirection, and another. The Kryn kept firing, but every attack was gently pushed aside, sent harmlessly into oceans, deserts, or empty space. The people below weren't dying anymore. They were safe. But the Kryn noticed. Their bioships turned their attention to the eschaton. Weapons that looked like massive organic cannons began firing. Streams of acid, bioplasma bolts, and living missiles filled space. All of them targeted the ancient warship. "Shields holding," Luminar reported. "But I am detecting something concerning. The Kryn are adapting. They are analyzing my defensive patterns and modifying their attacks. Within 12 minutes, they will overcome my shields. Hit all the bioships at once." The eschaton emitted a pulse of energy that human eyes couldn't see. It washed over the Kryn bioships like an invisible wave. For 3 seconds, nothing happened. Then, chaos. The Kryn bioships stopped firing. They began moving erratically, spinning, colliding with each other. The coordinated swarm became a confused mess. Marcus realized what was happening. The hive-mind connection had been severed. Each bioship was now operating independently, and the individual Kryn organisms didn't know what to do without the collective intelligence guiding them. "It worked," Dr. Okoye said in amazement. "You actually cut off their coordination. We have not solved the problem, we have only delayed it. What if we talk to them?" They communicate through quantum states and genetic information sharing. I have never attempted communication with a hive species. The Varath only understood destruction, but theoretically, yes, I could establish a rudimentary data bridge. What message would you send? Tell them the people on those planets are alive, not resources, not food, living beings with families, with hopes, with the same desire to survive that the Kryn have. Show them that cooperation is more valuable than conquest. It took precious minutes to establish the connection. The Kryn hive mind was alien, utterly different from individual consciousness. But slowly, carefully, Luminar built a bridge between two completely different forms of thinking. And then, for the first time in their species' history, the Kryn heard a voice that wasn't their own. Luminar spoke to them in concepts rather than words, images of life, of growth, of mutual benefit. The message was simple: you seek resources. These worlds have people who can trade, who can share. You do not need to destroy to survive. There is another way. The response came back: confusion, hesitation, and something else: curiosity. The Kryn hive mind was ancient, but it had never encountered a being that could speak its language, never considered that the creatures it consumed might be similar to itself. Luminar continued. It showed the Kryn images of symbiotic relationships in nature. Bees and flowers, cleaner fish and sharks, species that helped each other instead of fighting. It proposed an alternative. The Kryn could establish trade relationships. They needed organic materials. The agricultural worlds could provide them. In exchange, the Kryn could offer their unique biotechnology. It was an absurd proposal, trying to negotiate with a species that had never negotiated before. But Marcus watched the sensors and saw something incredible happening. The Kryn bioships were stopping. Not retreating, but waiting, considering. "I'm receiving a response," Luminar said, and there was wonder in its voice. "The hive mind is thinking. They are processing the concept of trade, of mutual benefit. This is unprecedented. Unknown, but they have not resumed attacking. That itself is remarkable." They were forming up, organizing into a fleet formation. And then they jumped to faster-than-light travel. They left. Marcus stared at the empty space where the Kryn had been. Did they just leave? "I am receiving a final transmission from the hive mind. Translation is difficult, but the essence is: new information received, new protocols required. Will consider proposed alternative. Future contact possible. Marcus, I believe we just established first contact with the Kryn, peaceful first contact. Without killing anyone. Luminar, send a message to the planets. Let them know they're safe." Marcus accepted it, and the Corvaxian admiral's hologram appeared. His expression was unreadable. "Marcus Chen, we observed everything. The Hegemony Council has reached a decision. The Guardian Protocol is hereby officially recognized. The Eschaton is granted independent status under Hegemony oversight. You have proven that ancient weapons can serve life instead of death. Well done, human. Well done." He tried to speak but couldn't find words. Dr. Akoi squeezed his shoulder. "We did it," she whispered. "Over the next few weeks, everything changed. The Eschaton was officially recognized across the galaxy. Marcus remained as human liaison and captain. Dr. Akoi joined as cultural advisor and diplomat. Luminar continued evolving, learning, growing. They began recruiting a crew. Not soldiers, but people who believed in second chances. A Trilock engineer who had been exiled for questioning profit margins. A Kexthari medic who valued healing over fighting. A young human pilot who dreamed of exploring instead of conquering. Refugees, outcasts, and idealists from a dozen species. The Hegemony provided limited support, supplies, intelligence, diplomatic backing, while maintaining oversight through a council of representatives. The Eschaton would respond to threats, but only when requested and only when civilian lives hung in balance. 3 months after the Then incident, Marcus sat in the captain's chair of the fully restored Eschaton. The bridge was no longer empty and dark. Now it buzzed with activity. Crew members from multiple species worked at their stations. The view screen showed a star map filled with distress signals and brewing conflicts. Dr. Okoye approached him with a data pad. "We've received 7 requests for intervention this week. Border disputes, pirate raids, a potential famine on Kepler Station." "Where do we start?" "The famine on Kepler Station will result in casualties within 72 hours. I recommend we begin there." He wasn't just a broke salvager anymore. He was part of something bigger, something important. The ship jumped to faster-than-light travel, racing toward people who needed help. The crew worked together, human and alien, united by a common goal. In the command chair, Marcus smiled. They had taken a weapon of destruction and transformed it into an instrument of hope. They had proven that second chances mattered, that broken things could be fixed, that giving up was never the answer. The eschaton was no longer a relic of a dead empire. It was a guardian, a protector, a symbol that the galaxy could be better than its past, and its journey was just beginning. Far away, on dozens of worlds, people looked up at the stars and whispered stories of the ancient ship and its human captain. The ship that appeared when hope seemed lost. The ship that saved without destroying. The ship that proved the galaxy could change. They called it the Guardian. They called it salvation. They called it proof that even the darkest weapons could find redemption. Marcus Chen just called it home.